to do the Barra Bunny fly. It was a fly originally tied by Dave Bradley, but there's numerous versions of it out there now. It was recently covered also in Fly Life magazine by Chris Beach. Pretty simple to tie. Had a lot of success up at Weeper on the Barra with this particular fly. So very useful to have in your kit if you're going anywhere that there's barra in the snags. The good thing about the fly is there's a lot of movement. Even on the paws it'll continue to move, but it's also got the dubbing brush head which moves a fair bit of water. So all I'm using for materials, it's a Gamakatsu SL12S in a 2.0. You'll need some mono for the loop at the back, which I'll show you, and also for the weed guard. So I'm using 60 pound at the back and an 80 pound weed guard. I found the 60 pound still got snagged up a little bit. Rabbit strips, now there's two options. So these are the thin rabbit strips, and I'll use two of those or one of the Magnum strips, which is obviously the wider strip. Doesn't really make any difference from my perspective. And the other thing you're going to need is a dubbing brush. So this one is a tan and gold dubbing brush that I make myself. Worked really well up at Weeper recently. So first things first, you're going to put thread up the hook shank. I am going to put a bit of a ball of thread here at the very back here, which really just keeps the loop to stop it tail wrapping sitting up. So the loop, as I said, that's just 60 pound mono. I'm just going to tie it in here and get a decent sized loop hanging out the back, and that'll just stop the rabbit fouling the hook. So there, try to keep it relatively straight like that. Alright, so you can see that's just a loop hanging out the back, so that'll just stop the rabbit strip coming back on itself. Cut the excess off, and don't use your good scissors for that because you'll blunt them in no time. Alright, so this one I'm going to put bead chain eyes on. It's really up to you and where you're fishing. So if you're in a shallower spot, I would use bead chain because it doesn't sink as fast, and you can keep it up above the barra. Remember, most barra are going to be sitting there looking up, waiting for something to go across them to eat. So you don't want it sitting or sinking straight to the bottom. Alright, so that's that bit. I'll flip it over, and this is the 80 pound which I'm going to use for a weed guard. So all I do with that, get the two ends together, pull it up, squeeze it so it comes to a bit of a point like that, and then I'll just tie that in. A few loose wraps up the front here first, just to hold it in place, and then you can adjust the length from there. So you want it to finish so that it just touches the hook point when it bends back. You don't want it too long or it'll hit the hook and not actually fall backwards, and therefore you're going to miss the hook up. So once you've got the length you want, just check it again like so. Yeah, cut off the excess at the back and then finish tying that down. Alright, so that's the two mono loops. What I'll then do is headset. So it's always a good idea to use some headset on the mono and the thread. It just stops it pulling out. I mean, these flies are going to be chucked into some pretty heavy duty country at times, so it's good if you can protect them and make them as hardened as possible. So I'm just going to quickly check that those eyes are straight before that sets, which they are. Alright, so the next bit, I'm going to come back here, and for this one I'm going to actually use two rabbit strips. So first things first, I'm just going to check the length. I want a bit of length because I want a fair bit of movement So I will probably just cut this rabbit strip in half, and that'll give me the 2 pieces I want. Alright, and the first one I'm going to tie slightly to one side of the hook like so, and it'll bring it back towards the top. Alright, so that's the first one, and then the second one, the same thing here. And then give them a good lash down. Alright, so that's the tail done. So fairly lengthy tail. It's that tail moving in the water, especially when it sinks, it's going to do that and drift around a bit. So it's that movement that really seems to get the strike from the barra. Alright, so the next bit I'm going to tie in the dubbing brush. So this one, the ones I make are made on stainless wire, so they're really heavy duty, and I use I think it's about a 0.009 of an inch diameter. So really give that a good tie down and fold it back over itself. Get the hook back up out of the way, and then I'm going to head set that again. And that'll hold the rabbit strips in place, and also make sure that wire doesn't slip. So be pretty generous with the headset. You could also epoxy it down if you wanted to, but the headset works pretty well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just tease this out a little bit more. And then just do a few wraps forward, so pull that across as we go. One, and just keep coming up in front of itself, and then when we've got this tied in, we'll tease it out a little bit. So this is what's going to give you the bulk in the head of the fly, which is pretty important. Alright, so that's that. I'll roll it over. A couple of wraps on there. Pull it back. Cut it off. And just finish that off, a couple of wraps across there, and create the shape of the head that you want. Now I'm going to just get a bobbin needle or dubbing needle and just tease that out a little bit here. And you can always trim any bits that are way too long. I mean, I usually make dubbing brushes between 1.5 inches and 2 inches wide, so there'll be some materials that sort of go a bit longer than that. You don't want them perfectly even. So you can see that's starting to take shape, and that's where you get the head that pushes the water. Alright, now it's got a lot of loose bits, but we'll get those off when we finish. So that's basically the shape you want. Once again, I'm going to just head set that thread, and that'll just hold everything in place. Like so. Then I just finish off the weed guard. So to finish it off, I'm just going to push it back with my thumb back towards the hook, and it should touch the hook like that. And then bring the thread across the front and just give it a number of wraps in front of the thread, and that'll keep it sitting up nice and straight. Then we whip finish about 4 of those there, and then another lot. Again, it's going into heavy duty country, so don't be shy to make it fairly robust. That's that done. And last thing I would do, and optional, is just to put a little bit of epoxy around that head once that headset dries. And that's it. That's your Barra Bunny done and dusted. As I said, had a lot of success. I hooked a couple of fish around the metre mark on this particular one in that particular colour. So that's the tan and gold with the white tail. So hopefully that does the business for you as well. Thanks for watching.